Hello, and welcome to the Loving You interview series, conversations on self-love and self-care with well-being and holistic experts. I'm Rachel, your host, and I am founder and creator of Under the Dance Tattoo School of Sacred Dance and Healing. And today I have with me Stacey, who is a meditation and yoga specialist and teacher, and who also specializes and teaches all about essential oils. So I'm really excited to have you here today, Stacey. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Rachel. It's such an honor to be here and so grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And yeah, I'm really excited to have you here to be sharing your perspective on all things yogic and essential oils and connection to mind, body, soul, and nature through the oils as well. So I'd really love for you to begin by kind of introducing yourself and your story. So we're talking about self-love and self-care in these conversations. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey with these two things and your path of self-love and self-care.
Absolutely. Self-love has been a theme in my life, what seems like the entirety of my journey. And it's really been a catalyst for what has gravitated into the different modalities and healing practices that have led me to do the work that I'm doing today. I found yoga and meditation when I was quite young, and I was immediately curious. I was like, whoa, this isn't the just moving the body and making different shapes that I had perceived in my mind as what yoga was. There's something deeper. I felt something more, something that was connecting me on a different level that at that time I couldn't quite understand. And it was very new to me, relating to the soul, understanding what it is that you're feeling with when emotions are arising is not something we're learned throughout our childhood or our youth or in today's school systems. And so for me, it was like this curiosity and yearning to learn more and more about these different practices as I started to notice that within each time I was coming to my mat or reading a book or, at a different workshop or seminar with some teacher from around the world, I was finding myself feeling a deeper and deeper connection to myself. And I started to feel the edges of my heart, the self-criticism, the self-doubt, the self-hate that I had gone through a lot of my youth and challenged with different eating disorders and things like that, and a lot of body dysmorphia that had me in a very low place. And as I started to continue to just immerse myself into different teachings and trainings and certification programs, I was at a point in my life deciding what it is that I wanted to do. How would I like to serve the world? And at that time, I was finding that the only thing that was really pulling me out from that dark place, the only thing that was giving me that sense of light, that sense of connection, that sense of love, were these different practices. And so I also had gone through a youth of lots of different medical conditions and things like that, where I was in and out of hospitals. And so for me, while I was finding yoga and meditation, I was simultaneously healing, but at that point was only getting worse. And so I had all of these questions coming up and curiosity for something else out there beyond modern medicine, which is, has come in as a hero to so many lives around the world. But there is different alternatives and ways that we can live and be empowered to take care of ourselves as a first step versus a dependency or codependency on things that are synthetic, like pharmaceuticals and things that are foreign to our body, and really using that when there is a time and place for it, but really feeling like, okay, we are so intelligent. Our body, our divinity is so very special, so very sacred. And we truly have the tools and the different modalities and practices that can help get us to that place that isn't just going to mask any symptoms, but really get down to the root cause. And what I was finding with these different practices, different yoga, breath work, meditation, energetic work, holistic healing, Ayurveda, and essential oils, was that I was finally getting better. I was finally not only feeling, in harmony in my body, but also I was starting to love myself. I was starting to feel that inner joy, that inner love that is in our true nature, that is our divine self, and who we really are at the core of our existence, with which I think in today's world we forget, right? We look in the mirror and we find every little thing to judge and to criticize. We see a photo or our social media, all these things that we're bombarded with different standards and things that we're supposed to look like and feel like or do with our life. And really, I found that I had to really just unlearn and pull back from all those different constraints and things that I felt like was what I needed to do, how I needed to look, how I needed to treat myself. And I found as I was continuing to deepen my education, my experiences, my practices, I was coming closer and closer home. And now it is truly my passion and what I consider my dharma, my soul's calling, to share these different practices and tools with others, not only to share my experience in the way that it is, of course, moved me in such transformational ways, but also the people that I work with, the loved ones, a lot of my students and clients who have come have made such incredible strides just from using the power of plants, the power of our own breath, the power of our own body, shifting out of this inner dialogue and truly coming back to a place by going inward, so that we can truly align mind, body, and soul. And I think that self-love is something that we don't consider always as a holistic form of practice, because it's a journey. I found that self-love isn't something that I, once I'm there, right? It's a journey. It's a process. We're gonna sway in and out of this love for ourselves. We're gonna sway in and out of this connection and this inner harmony with ourselves. And so for me, it's really being that guide and facilitator to educate and empower others to really utilize these practices, feel like they have now access to this like mega toolbox that can just continue to pull them closer and closer and really just crack their hearts open and feel that love within and without, and truly just emanate the divinity of ourselves in a way that is much greater than any love. It is the greatest love, and that is what I'm really just so passionate about doing, and grateful to be able to share with all of you today.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, and I love the message that you're putting across there. It's really beautiful about, not just being, there's so many different aspects and so many different approaches, to self-love and to love. And so often we have a kind of a very a tunnel vision about love, about when people think of love. First of all, they'll think of love, in the context of a relationship or with a partner. But when it comes to thinking about yourself as your own lover, your own partner, people, they find it a little bit more difficult to approach. And then also, another way we might think about it is self-love. Some of the things people might first think of is, maybe the way they eat, whether it's loving to have that second chocolate bar or to keep to just one. But when it comes to love on a different level, receiving divine love, again, it's kind of almost that step, kind of a little bit further, that it's like, I don't quite understand that. So yeah, so how would you explain to, say, if you had a student that came to your class that was thinking about how do I explore love on all these different levels, where it's going to really nurture mind, body, and soul, all at the same time? Or how would you advise them to be taking different approaches, to be loving on each of those levels?
Absolutely. Well, I love what you shared about how there's so many different paths to self-love, and there's so many different ways that we can land there. But something that I have found really effective, not only with my students and clients, but even myself, is really coming to a place where you encompass all of your sensations and all of your senses, and coming from a place, because a lot of the times when we're feeling that disconnect from love, or when we're feeling that disconnect from ourselves, it's because we're basically like overstimulated, right? We have too much mind chatter going on. Our body has now created tension. We might be feeling different sensations, aches, pains in the body, because of course it's all related. So when we're feeling a disconnect from our body as love, and we're feeling all these different sensations and feedback, and when we're feeling a disconnect from our self as love, whether that's in the heart or in our mind, or the things that we're going about in our day, and we find ourselves externally seeking for that love versus coming inward to it, I found that really finding an essential oil is really what I found so essential in the practice as well, is because when you incorporate the senses, you are dropping yourself right into the present moment. And in order to really feel yourself as the love that you are, and to take a step back from whatever else is going on in your thoughts, your belief systems, your whatever it is, your life, it just acts as such a catalyst. It acts as such an enhancement to your experience. So I'm very, 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 very adamant about making sure that the essential oils that you use are beyond just pure and organic, but heavily tested and sourced properly at places around the world that are indigenous to those. So I do recommend, as an essential oil specialist and educator, doTERRA essential oils as the best of the best, tested and true, and just the purest that you can truly find. And what I found in my life, and millions of people all over the world, such transformational changes with. So depending on what you're feeling, checking in with your emotions. Are you feeling more, when it comes to self-love, are you feeling more in a depressed state, a more stuck state? Or are you feeling more anxious? Are you anxious like you can't quite get there and it's overwhelming to you, Or are you feeling hard on yourself, like angered, right? So checking in with what are the emotions around self-love that you're experiencing. And based on that, there are different oils that can really help to work with that, right? So if we're feeling stuck, if we're feeling more depressed, we're going to need something that's a little bit more uplifting, something like your citrus or your florals, something comforting and nurturing. If we're feeling more of that anger, choosing an oil that's more so grounding and harmonizing, like your tree oils, and your florals as well. Very, very good. A lot of oils related to self-love are a lot of florals, which is something that, especially as women and as females, is such a deep connection to, right? We feel so loved as soon as we receive flowers from someone. So imagine having these oils with you as your support, just to help that support. And if you're someone who's feeling more anxious or overwhelmed, again, more tree oils, something that's more grounding and something that's more nurturing. So taking that oil, placing it into your hands, and finding a comfortable seated position, a few deep breaths, breathing it in, and really bringing yourself into the present moment. Conscious awareness of the breath and the movement in and back out through the body. Closing the eyes down and really just noticing the subtle sensations around you, space and the energy of the room, and slowly bringing that awareness inward. Okay, what are you feeling in the body? What parts of the body have you neglected or felt shame around, or have judged or have criticized lately? And where can you offer that love to? Where can you send a little bit of love and healing energy? And what I've found is a lot of people can't even connect to the feeling of love, right? And that's very difficult, right? We'll go through moments in our life where even that feeling of love is so foreign to us. And so what I recommend is think of a time or a place in your life where you have felt joy, where you have felt happiness, where you have felt at peace. And that is the essence of love. That is the essence of just your ecstatic bliss as your nature, right? And so coming back to that moment and just remembering that feeling. What sensations arise? What did that joy feel like for you in your heart and your mind and your body? What did those different feelings and experience feel like to you? Can you remember? Can you remember and pull that experience back in, where you felt loved, where you felt cared for, where you felt nurtured and embodied and accepted, right? And sending that right back to yourself, these different areas of not only just the body, but then starting to work with even more of the subtle energy, more of the subtle sensations in your breath. Like your breath is giving and receiving love, giving and receiving those sensations that help bring you from those different emotions and experience that isn't so pleasant and is discomforting, which happens, right? As this human experience, we have to accept that as this human vessel, we're going to move through these different ebbs and flows. But the more that we practice, the more that we come to our practices, come back to those remembrances, just brings us more and more familiar with that sensation, with that feeling of love, and with our essence as love. You know, and is there any thoughts going on in the mind, any chatter that you feel like is causing you to feel, you know, the opposition, feel hate, feel anger, or you know, lack or not enoughness, right? And can you, where is that coming from? You know, where is that coming from? And acknowledge where that's coming from, and love whatever part of you that's coming from, whether that's a past experience from your childhood, whether that's something that just happened to trigger you even just this in the last moment or so, but being okay with what comes up, being accepting and loving to what shows up, and really just rooting back into, coming back into this inner stillness and inner silence of love and acceptance. And of course, if we're having a lot of challenge with sitting still, you know, moving the body, shifting the energy, dance, movement, things like that will help to circulate, transmute, transform some of that energy, which is so powerful, and something that I love to work with my clients with and my students with doing. And so really just exploring different practices like that, you know, having your essential oils connected to your heart space, our heart chakra, you know, theming with the colors of green, which is connected to Anahata chakra, heart chakra, and really just like connecting with nature, eating the right foods that make you feel loved, noticing those subtle vibrations of what offers me the feeling of joy and love. What offers me the feeling? Who in my life offers me the feeling of love and joy? What environments offer me a feeling of acceptance and self-love and joy? And filtering out your life. You know, I know that can be scary for some, like, oh no, I have to make changes. It doesn't have to be like boom, 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 you know, but just these subtle shifts that you know are getting you to that next version of yourself, like the upgraded version of yourself, the highest self, the highest form of your embodied divinity, and truly being okay with looking at your life with lenses in a retrospective perspective and saying, okay, what pulls me further from this connection to my heart? What pulls me further from this connection to my soul and to love? And you know, is it this guy? Is it this food? Is it these habits? And you know, just checking in. It all comes down to awareness. And when we're aware of these subtle sensations, these emotions that continue to move in and throughout us, you know, how can we then work with these subtle, this feedback and what we've noticed and picked up on, to really align body, mind, and spirit, and truly align body, mind, and spirit? Because when we're in that alignment, we are in rooted love. We are in our fullest existence as love. And so really just what I've found to be so transformational and so empowering for myself and others are those different tools that can really bring you to elevating your senses, your awareness, the sensations, and coming more and more into this balanced state, this balanced being. Really, it's not even a state, it's our existence. So balanced being and true self and being. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I love that you're really encouraging people to explore, you know, what feels good and what is right for them, you know, because we have so many expectations and judgments about how things should look, how things should feel, how things should be. And, you know, all these things that you're suggesting, you know, I really encourage people to go away, you know, write all of these down and then just try them out. And also to journal, you know, if you notice that you genuinely really deeply enjoy eating something or the feel of something or a certain activity, to make note of that, you know, and to say, oh wow, I really love that. And then you've almost got like you're writing it all down, like this toolkit list, you know, that you're noticing maybe what you like and what you don't like, and really noticing what's right, you know, for you, not for anybody else, but for you. And there's also this element of, you know, just by even having that intention, even just that thought, that is love in action in itself, you know. So we've been talking a lot in these conversations about how we, especially as women, expect so much of ourselves, you know, and that we think that love should be this and should be that, and especially self-love, you know, we kind of think, you know, it's high in this pedestal, it's so unachievable that we just can't get there because it should be this and this and this and this. And even just that, setting that intention just to even breathe before you eat something, that, although simple, you know, is an act of love. It truly is.
It truly is. It's just that mindfulness and that action of love. And even the words that we speak, is it coming from a place of love? How are we receiving the words from others? Is our hearts open? Are we feeling that connection to love? And, you know, taking moments, I also love this practice too, is like, how is my heart feeling? And how does my heart look in this moment? If I were to visualize the space of my heart, is it feeling tight and clenched, or is it feeling a little jagged and rigid, or is it feeling open and expansive? Right? And having that intention, I open my heart, I'm open to receive. And I really love that you had brought that up as well, because I think that's a huge element that is very rarely talked about, is are we really willing to receive love in this moment? Are we really willing to receive truly all that life has to offer to us as different forms of love, right? So even just checking in and journaling about that and having that intention or affirmation of, I am ready and willing to receive love, and I emanate love right back. I give and offer love in each moment, right? And I feel like that too is just so empowering, you know, to just check in and be like, oh, you know, I have had a little bit of a wall. I have had a little bit of a little barrier up, and that's okay. It happens. But how can we just take these moments to be mindful, come back to the breath, back into the body, and just check in? Time to soften the heart of it. Time to breathe into that spaciousness. Time to really expand myself and be open to receive. And we'll find, we all, you know, as we continue these practices and this journey, truly, the more that we open ourselves to love, the more that we'll see love in every aspect of our life. You know, we won't feel as as triggered by a child crying. Instead, we'll see it as a form of love. You know, you will, instead of, you know, honking, someone beeping at you and honking down the road, you know, maybe we don't get so anchored or disrupted in our day-to-day life. We'll just see it as, okay, let me send them some love. They need some love. And you'll find that just by you being in that right action, just by you being in that loving action and awareness is what draws love right back into you, right? It's a law of cause and effect, this karma, really, you know, just as we are loving awareness, can we continue to have enough openness and space for that, to hold space for others to come back into their own loving awareness. And then we see shifts not only on a personal level with how we're feeling love towards ourselves, but we start feeling it on a greater level with our families, our friends, our community. All of a sudden we have so much love that we are just like oozing, and we start to notice these subtle shifts and changes in our neighbor who was perhaps rather bitter when we first moved in, but because we've stayed rooted and loved, and we are consciously loving awareness, we're starting to see them, learn from us as teachers. Because although there are, I consider myself a teacher, as I've been teaching for 9 years, and a facilitator and guide, but truly everyone we come in contact with is our teacher, right? There's no one who is on a higher pedestal or not. It's like, we are all holding different life experiences. We're all holding something new to be able to offer and teach someone. And so the more that we come back to this self-love and truly the self-remembrance of our own loving awareness, the more that we're able to continue to teach and set that example for others to come right back to love as well, and soften their own hearts and embrace a little bit more joy and happiness or peace in their life.
Yeah. And it's really a tribute to how powerful love is, and that sounds so cliche and corny sometimes, but things are cliche for a reason. And I really noticed this at the beginning of COVID. Everybody was stuck inside, but I don't know what it was like with you, but we were able to walk around the village, and people were full of, anxiety and frustration. And you could tell that when they were like, walking their dogs and walking around the village. And just that, saying hello to them and smiling, you will not believe the difference. It was like something just opened up, just they had been noticed and recognized, and that somebody was willing just to send that out, to give love with no objective, with no kind of fixed ideas or expectations about why they're giving that, just to give that, it was just, and receiving that as well can be really, really profound. And I know on my journey, I love that you were talking about receiving, because it has been for me very much about receiving. And a lot of women, and so many of my students relate to this, we give, but receiving can be where our blocks are, where we struggle a lot. And linking with the essential oils and the plants, for a very, very long time, I actually completely rejected rose. I hated the smell. I couldn't stand roses. If anybody asked me, I was like, I hate roses. And it actually took me all the way to Glastonbury, and I was working with my teacher there, and this came up really, really strongly about that I'd rejected roses because they are the flower of love. They are the essence of love. And it was about me not being willing to receive what they were trying to offer. And roses, I deemed and love, was so beautiful, so pure. I didn't believe that I was worthy of that love. And it took my heart, to kind of like to break open and to just say yes and be willing to receive, the message and the offering of the rose, thorns and beauty and, all of it, just receiving and opening up to everything that love is, all of the aspects of it and all the things. So Rose has been a really kind of a teacher for me on this love journey. And I know that it's one of the essential oils, isn't it, to use especially for the heart chakra. Are there any others that you would recommend for people if they want to begin working in particular self-love and they feel called to essential oils? Is there any that you would recommend in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because I feel like so many women can relate to your story and relate to that feeling of unworthiness. And, I find it so interesting that you see this a lot come up in Ayurveda. You see this come up a lot in different practices around, just in people that I work with as well. sometimes if what we avoid the most, we need the most, right? And so it's very common. I actually was just working with a woman this past week. Same thing. I was encouraging her and recommending to her a few floral oils, and she's just like, just can't stand the floral oils, blah, blah, blah. And, it sometimes takes time, and, but willing to receive those oils, especially rose, jasmine, magnolia, ylang ylang. They come in touch roller bottles, so it's really easy to just, roll onto the heart. It's already diluted because they are very strong, especially doTERRAs are 70 to 80 times more powerful than herbs, which is wild because you're getting such the pure potency, the natural chemical compound that over time and with consistent use really transforms and shifts your cells and your psychology and physiology and just in such profound ways. We're hearing more and more in today's world, plants as medicine, food as medicine. It's so true. It's the farthest thing from cliche or woohoo. It's like, we were on this earth to receive Earth's abundance, to truly utilize these different plants and these forms of natures that have such profound properties to them. And so when we start to look at, the properties related to whether that's florals, your tree oils, your mints, your herbs, your spices, things like your citruses, we start to see different patterns related to what those oils are used for and their different properties. And so when we're coming into the heart space, a lot of the heart space is related to inviting in more florals. Frankincense is also a really good one. Frankincense is so powerful and is used in many ways to support the body. And I won't go into all of that right now, but it's a really beautiful one to connect to the heart, and just it's one that truly creates cellular regeneration for the body and for the mind, that helps to, if you're feeling that sense of lack or unworthiness, it really brings you into more of that like sense of openness. I also really love the emotional kit from doTERRA. They have Forgive, Console. Those are going to be really good for the heart space as well. Forgive and Console. Passion, another really wonderful one. These are all oils that, again, it's challenging for me when I come across people who are so against opening their hearts and their minds to things outside of Western medicine or pharmaceuticals. And that, that's from my own experience, because I truly did only get worse and worse with that. And that's not everyone's experience. There's also been moments in my life and with loved ones where it's been the saving grace. And we have nurses in our family. We have my twin brother is a fireman. So, he's working with all these different people who need that, right? But when it comes to, stress related illnesses, when it comes to emotional, any emotional responses or illnesses that are coming up from things that are just happening on a more subtle level and starting to play out not only in the energetic body, but then the emotional body, the mental body, and the physical body, right? Kind of works in that way where it's subtle to gross. And so we really can use the plants to help shift some of that chemistry, shift some of that energy, and really work with us to soften, to come back home, to feel a sense of nurturing, to feel a sense of love and acceptance, and really just worthiness, worthiness that, like, okay, these plants are so abundant around us. And I love that doTERRA does all sustainable work. So everything that we're taking from nature, we're giving back tenfold. And so it's been so empowering to know that not only are we flourishing Mother Earth, and we're hearing so much about, how poorly Mother Earth has often been treated in the past, especially 100 years or so. And it truly is just so wonderful to know that when you're using these different plants, when you're using these different oils, with every single drop, you know that you're giving back in an exponential way, whether that's back to the earth or through their quote impact or sourcing efforts, and how they offer these jobs to these people in these poor countries who are just needing this type of income, needing this type of work, and these types of relationships, who aren't taking advantage of people, who are eliminating the middleman. So it's truly, purity from the ground, from these indigenous areas of the world that are so potent, right? And that's why when we travel, especially if you have like a little traveler's bug, you might be called to different areas of the world. Notice where you're called to, where you feel, oh my gosh, I went on this trip and I felt so good. I felt so connected. I felt so healed. I felt, notice what was around you. What was the environment like? What kind of trees were around you? What kind of plants were around you? What kind of foods were you eating? And those type of oil, and you can find what oils was that, I was really drawn to a lot of, minty drinks. Okay. Get some peppermint, connect back to that sensation that brings you back to feeling invigorated and inspired. Or was it magnolias? Did you dance around a little field with magnolias around it, or were you up in were you around surrounded by trees with arborvitae tree or something like that, and just noticing how we intuitively are gravitated to nature, how we are intuitively called to these different parts of nature, as we are nature itself, right? We are a reflection of nature. We are truly a part of nature, as one with nature. And so it truly is like the biggest honor and form of self-care to not resist it, right? Mm-hmm. To not resist what we've been given, to not resist, these different dialogues or thought beliefs of what we think or have heard of essential oils, or as perhaps something in a negative way, and that comes up a lot too. And it's like, let go of that. Some people might have different intentions with it. Some people might have different experiences with it, especially if you're using oils that they might say organic and pure, but they might not necessarily be effective. And it truly comes down to the efficacy based on where it's sourced, how it's been tested, how it hasn't lost or been diluted from its natural chemical compound state. And so that it's working with you and your body, your mind, your heart in the most powerful, transformational, and effective way. And when you're open to that, ready to receive Earth's bounty that she so graciously offers to us, you will find such transformation. And just on another note too, for whoever's listening to this, essential oils, just like everything in our life, needs to be explored as well. If you find one, it's similar like medication. You can't, you try one medicine and, that didn't work well for me, or I didn't really love how that felt for me. You'd go back to the doctor and ask for something else, right? You wouldn't be like, oh, forget that, moving on, never going back. So different bodies, every body responds differently to different oils. So for some, one that connects you to the feeling of love might be one oil, where it might be another oil for someone else, and having consistency. So having proper protocols and consistency is so key when we're using these different plants, especially because it takes about 28 to 32 days for our bodies to really be working on it in a working with the cells in a deeper level, working with our physiological being in a deeper level as well. So truly being open to explore and experience different oils, and find an essential oil specialist, or contact myself and find a proper protocol for yourself. Find a proper, seek out a proper protocol for yourself, for someone who's specialized in essential oils and can properly guide you to what would be best for you, and can properly, you know, be there to truly make sure that everything is being held in a safe, sacred way, and what's best for you.
Fabulous. Yeah, so below this video is Stacey's details and contacts, so you can reach out to her with any questions or explore, you know, what she offers and more about essential oils. So that's all there for you if you do want to know more, and please do go and explore that. There is a real reason why, you know, we give Earth and Gaia the title Mother, you know, Mother Nature, Mother Gaia. She's so giving. She just gives and gives and gives, you know, again, with no expectation or conditions. You know, she is so giving as a mother, and really it's an act of love to her as well to receive what she has to offer, you know, with that honor and with that gratitude and with that real respect. And yeah, and I love what you said as well about really choosing where and how you receive those oils. And I found it really interesting over the past few years. I've been thinking about the rise, you know, in kind of you know, allergies and like wheat intolerances, and I think there's something about how the plant is treated, you know, with all these pesticides and the way the machines are hacking at them, and that disconnection from the cycles and seasons of nature, you know, kind of I have this feeling that it's about the vibration of the food, not necessarily, you know, about that we are allergic to wheat, that we're allergic to bread anymore. I think it's, you know, there's so much on that other level. And sometimes we forget, you know, when we're eating our meal, that we are energetic beings, and that food has energy and a vibration, same as essential oils, you know. Essential oil is the same as an apple, you know, and we're taking that into our body, and the journey that that plant or that flower has been on, you know, from the seed all the way to going into the bottle. And to know that a practitioner like yourself, as well as the people that have created the oil, have done so lovingly and with intention, really makes a difference. And it's another act of self-love to be sourcing things that have had that respect and that honor in the process.
Absolutely. I so agree. Yeah. And thank you so much for everything that you've been able to share as well. And again, if there's anyone who is looking to dive deeper into any form of holistic health, healing, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, essential oils, yes, please do contact me and reach out anytime.
Yes, yeah, and all those details, like I said, are below for you to to go and find Stacey, and yeah, and find out more about what she does. Before we finish, I would love for you to share. You may have answered this already, but I've been asking everybody on this interview series, like this final question. It's not too scary at all, but just to share with the audience, you know, what is your absolute number one, if you had to choose your number one self-care activity or just your self-care tool? Like if you had to choose, you're on a desert island and you could only have one thing in your self-care kit, what would it be?
Oh, I honestly would stuff as many essential oils into my pockets, my shirt, as possible, and really just myself. I really truly believe that, you know, by going inward and really working with ourselves on an energetic level, mind, body, soul, we can come back to that full alignment. We can come back to our true self. And the oils are there to just, again, catalyze it all, to magnetize it all, and to really just give us that huge oomph of support. So if I was stranded on a desert island, I would take all I could. Definitely I'm very particular about my waters. I feel like the water that we drink is also a very big form of love. So yeah, just making sure I had clean access to water, and then my own self, so that I can drop into my body, really drop into my heart, and work with whatever I need to do, mentally, physically, emotionally, to just root back into love.
I feel like you'd be really content lost on your desert island, you know, in complete silence, just with the oils, and you'd be like, oh, I love this, I want to stay.
Eventually I have to find food, but hopefully there's like a little magical, you know, like little tea hut filled with abundance of fruits and vegetables.
By the end of it, you would just either love yourself so much that you'd be grinning from ear to ear, or you'd be you might go a little bit crazy, but
yeah.
Not so far from each other at all. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all that you have done today. It's been really wonderful having you here, and just receiving all of your knowledge and your experience, and for being a guide to bringing people back to self-love and self-care. So thank you for all that you do, all that you are, all that you shared, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, and thank you, Rachel. I appreciate this platform and this space to be able to share with anyone and everyone who is drawn and called to watch this down the road, and it's just such an honor to be here, and thank you so much for having me and doing the work that you do. It's so inspiring and empowering and uplifting as well.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. And as I said, reach out if you want to. Any questions you can ask under this video, and this video will be here forever for everyone, so you can always keep coming back as well if there are some gems that you want to make notes on. So thank you so much for listening, and we shall see you in the next interview.
Thank you. Bye.